Hello and welcome to the 3Bs podcast, where we go beyond the numbers and get into what actually makes a business work. I'm your host, Stephanie Marshall, founder of ABCS UK, a multi-award-winning boutique finance and systems partner. I help business owners who've outgrown the basics bring clarity, structure and proper systems into their business so things finally feel in control. If you want more clarity, more confidence and a business that doesn't feel like constant chaos, you're in the right place. Each week we tackle real problems, answer the questions you're probably already thinking, and give you practical steps you can actually use in around 15 minutes. So if you're ready to build a better business with confidence and clarity, then let's go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to place for around 15 minutes of motivation, education, and inspiration to help you build a better business each week. If we haven't met before, hi, my name is Stephanie Marshall. I am the founder of ABCS UK, a multi-award-winning boutique finance and systems partner, and I help growing businesses who have outgrown their bookkeeper move from messy, reactive finances to clear, structured numbers and systems they can actually use to run their business properly. Because I care about the people behind the business and not just the numbers. And we've made it to episode 170. So before we get into today, I just want to take a second to say thank you so much for listening, watching, and sharing this podcast with your business owner friends. Whether this is your first episode or your 170th, I am so grateful that you get to be a part of the 3Bs podcast journey. Now, today's episode comes with a challenge. And before you panic, I'm not about to ask you to run a marathon. If I'm running, then you need to run in the same direction I am, because I am running from something deadly. I'm not asking you to wake up at 5 a.m, although if you're one of those people, kudos. And I'm not going to ask you to post on LinkedIn 7 times a day. Instead, I want to challenge you to find £1,000 in your business over the next 30 days. And not by working twice as hard, not by taking on loads of new clients, and not by winning the lottery. I want you to look at what you already have. Because one of the biggest myths in business is that growth always comes from doing more. Sometimes growth comes from paying attention. And over the years, I've seen businesses find thousands of pounds simply by making better decisions. So today I'm going to walk you through 7 places I'd look if I needed to find an extra £1,000. That £1,000 is a lot of money and can help you and your business in so many different amazing ways. Number 1. You know I'm going to start with this one if you've ever listened to an episode of the 3Bs podcast before. Review your prices. It's an obvious one. Xero have announced their annual price increase this week. It's the same when other accounting softwares or other pieces of softwares we use, our internets, our Sky Sports, whatever it may be, your subscriptions tend to go up annually. And Xero have sent out theirs this week, and it has caused some discourse and some discussions on LinkedIn, particularly in our industry. There's a chunk of bookkeepers and accountants that receive this email every year and start to panic and worry and get upset by the fact that they increase their prices, which obviously then increase their overheads and their costs. Now, I'm not in that camp. I'm in the camp of, if I had to manually still put into a double entry book by hand every in and out and both sides of that transaction, for some of the businesses that I work with, that would equate to me writing 2,500 lines a month for one client. The cost for the client for me to do that versus the cost for the new Xero subscription cost, even at the increased price per month. If you're on the lower 2 tiers, it's a £2 a month increase. If you're on the higher 2 tiers, it's a £5 a month increase. If you're on the starter package, there's no increase. To me, that's so worth it for the time we save, for the information that can help us gather to help us build our businesses and look at our numbers properly. So when was the last time you reviewed your prices? Not looked at them, actually reviewed them. Because they're 2 very different things. I've seen businesses charging the same prices for years. I've seen businesses lower their prices when their costs have still gone up. As I said, software costs increase, insurance has increased for many, energy costs have definitely increased for most, wages have increased. Everything has increased except their prices. And then they wonder why they're working harder for the same result or even less take home. I like to make these episodes practical, so here's an example. Imagine that you have 20 clients right now in your business. A £50 increase per month across those clients would generate you an extra £1,000 every month. Not every business can increase prices overnight, and I understand that, but many businesses haven't even considered that as an option. Many are like, oh, but if I increase by £2 a month, £10 a month, I'm going to lose all that income because I'm going to lose the client. That tiny little increase is where your opportunities are sitting. Number 2, chasing outstanding invoice. Now, this one is less exciting, but it's often faster. How much money is currently owed to you right now? What invoices, what orders do you have outstanding that you've not yet received payment for? And I'm not talking about promised money, and I'm not talking about expected money. I'm talking about actually invoiced for those orders, and they are currently outstanding. I've mentioned before that I've seen businesses with thousands sitting in aged debtors. One client's got an £8,000 invoice outstanding that hadn't been chased before they came on board with us. And that's not a sales problem because the sale has already taken place. That's a process problem. That's a credit control problem. The money had already been earned. The work had already been done. It just hadn't been collected yet. And sometimes the quickest way to improve your cash flow, which if you haven't guessed is why I'm challenging you to find that extra £1,000 in your business, is to collect the money that you're already owed and you've already worked. Number 3, reviewing your subscriptions. This is where a lot of businesses and individuals find hidden money. Go through your bank account line by line. Every subscription, every direct debit, every standing order, and ask yourself 3 questions. Do I still use this? Do I still need this? And am I on the right package? People often forget that third one because sometimes you're paying for a premium package that you don't need and you actually can use a lower one because your processes have changed. I've recently done it with our website subscription at ABCS UK. So we've always used Wix. We've paid for the premium package. We pay it like 3 years in advance. So it's all down for 3 years and I don't have to think about it again. But in those 3 years, we've introduced a community, we've removed the community. You used to be able to buy plans online, you can't anymore. So we don't need that e-commerce part of our premium plan on Wix anymore. So why would I then pay £432 for another 3 years when I'm not using the features that I'm paying £432 for? I've seen multiple duplicate Microsoft subscriptions when new clients have come on board, new email accounts have been added, and you've just bought the same subscription you've had before, but you've not really needed that one. I've seen software being paid for that nobody was using. How many times have we paid for some sort of membership or a software that's a social media scheduler or a content creation platform? At one point I had Canva, I had Microsoft Office, so I had PowerPoint, I had Adobe Express, and I'm paying for all 3. We don't use all 3, just need the one. I've also seen businesses paying for premium packages when basic would do exactly the same job. I find this a lot with Xero subscriptions. So depending on what you need from your accounting software package, you may not necessarily need to have the higher tier. Many of my clients, if you spoke to Xero, would tell you need the premium package because they get 1 or 2 invoices a month in euros instead of GBP. And actually, there is many workarounds for that. Bookkeepers know workarounds for that. Accountants know workarounds for that. That take a couple of extra seconds, but actually save you, in some cases, £25 a month. Now, a few pounds here and there don't feel like much until you add it all up. And sometimes adding it all up across the whole year makes you see the real impact of reviewing and cancelling and changing those subscriptions for what your business actually needs. And if your business then grows and you need the premium package, increase it then. Don't increase it prematurely and pay the extra money you don't need to be paying. Number 4, increasing conversion rather than traffic. Now, this one is because of my conversations with Zoe Dew. So if you've not yet seen the 2 episodes with Zoe Dew, go back and find them because this is something that my conversation with her, both on the podcast and after the podcast, has really sort of brought to light to me as something that business owners need to be more aware of, myself included. Most business owners think they need more leads. And sometimes they do, but often they just need to convert more of the leads they already have. So let's say 10 people inquired to work with you and work with your business. 2 of them became clients. That's a 20% conversion rate. So what happens if that becomes 30% or 40%? Without finding an extra single lead, That's where your systems help. Follow-up processes are so important. Clear proposals, simple onboarding, great communication. Those are the things that are going to make a difference. Because sometimes the money in your business isn't finding new people to sell to. It's in helping more of the right people say yes, that you are already in your world and in your ecosystem. Now, number 5 is stop saying yes to the wrong work. And it's something we talk about all the time on the podcast. And it sounds strange if this is your first episode of the 3Bs podcast. Firstly, welcome. Secondly, this might sound really strange to you if you've not heard me talk about it before. Because how does saying no make you money, you're probably thinking. And I know what that sounds like on the outside, but not all revenue is good revenue. Sometimes clients take far more time than they're worth. And costs for you are not just financial as a business owner. They're energetic, they're emotional, they're your stress levels. Some clients take far more time than they're worth. Some projects create an endless scope creep. You just do that one thing for them and then they want one more thing, but they don't want to pay any extra for that thing. We've all been there. Some pieces of work stop you saying yes to better opportunities. If you've taken on a bad fit or a red flag client, as I often call them, and you're spending your time servicing them, a great fit client or a great opportunity could come up, but you can't do it because you don't have the time available. The wrong work often costs more than it actually earns you. And the right work often creates space for growth, which I presume you're looking for by watching or listening to the 3Bs podcast. One of the biggest improvements I've made in my own business is becoming more selective. And it's not because I don't want to help people. The reason the 3Bs podcast exists is because I want to help more people who can't afford ABCS UK services. It's because I want to help the right people exceptionally well and not detract from those great fit clients and lower my service levels for them by helping those who are not the right fit for us. And that could be the same in your business too. Number 6, look for the leaks. Most business owners focus on the big numbers, revenue, turnover, sales, whatever you want to call it, profit, bank balance. But sometimes the problem is hiding in the small numbers, and far too often business owners don't look at the small numbers, those little inefficiencies, the repeated mistakes because their systems aren't in place, the duplicated work because systems are in place, errors have been made, things have been missed. The processes that take 30 minutes when they should take 10. Trying to keep it all in your brain is something I talk about so regularly on the podcast as well, because keeping it all in your brain is not helping you grow your business, whether it's just you on your own right now, or whether you have a team. Keeping things in your head as a business owner is a real stop to efficiency, to clarity, to cohesive working in your business. Think about your own business right now. What do you do repeatedly that feels harder than it should? Is there a process or a particular task that you have to do every single time, and you have to think about it and take that extra little step every time to make sure you've not missed anything? Because you don't have a process written down. You don't need the process. You know it inside out. You are the one doing the thing. But having that checklist is taking away the mental load of, oh, I need to remember that particular client likes things that way, or oh, I've got to remember next month to follow up with that client about that thing, or next quarter. Last quarter, me and that client talked about the fact they were about to hit the VAT threshold. I need to make a note to make sure that I keep remembering to check in to see where they are in that VAT threshold. By noting that down somewhere, you don't have to remember that, because the system, whether it's a CRM system or a note in your diary, that's going to remind you and prompt you to do the thing so it doesn't get lost. What keeps getting redone, what relies on memory rather than process, these are all things that I call small leaks, and those small leaks become expensive over time and grow into giant leaks. And finally, number 7, understanding your numbers properly. Now, I wouldn't be a good bookkeeper or accountant without mentioning this one. And I think this one might be the most important, because you cannot improve what you don't understand. There's a saying that goes around that says, what gets measured gets improved. And this kind of falls into the same thing. Because if you're a business that's just in the business, you're not reviewing things, you're not looking at your numbers and understanding what those numbers actually mean, how are you going to improve your business? How do you know where to point the dial, where you're heading, what you're aiming for? I've worked with businesses turning over more than £100,000 a year that had no idea what their profit margins were. They had no management reports, they had no forecasting, and no real visibility. just hard work. And while hard work is so important, information and up-to-date, clear information is what helps you make better decisions. Often the £1,000 isn't hidden in the business, it's hidden in the decisions you're not currently able to make because you don't have enough visibility, you don't have enough information to make an accurate, informed decision on your business. And when I talk about management reports and forecasting and cash flow, I'm not saying you need to have the most complex set of PDF reports or a bit of software that can give this information for you. There is real grassroots way of doing this. There's very manual, very simple ways of doing this. But even having something simple will really help you see what's going on in your business. So what is this challenge really about? Because I want to be really clear. This episode isn't really about finding that £1,000. It's about awareness. Because once you start looking at your business differently, looking at those 7 different points, you start seeing opportunities differently too. You start notice when things aren't working. You start noticing money that is being wasted. You notice processes that need improving or implementing if you have none at all. Decisions that need making that you don't make either with informed information or you make quickly because you're running at a deadline because you don't plan ahead for these things and don't see them coming. That awareness is incredibly valuable if you're looking to build a bigger and better business. Now, at the 3Bs podcast, it wouldn't be an episode without me giving you some homework. I know there's a challenge there, but I also want to give you your one thing. The whole premise of this podcast is for you to have one piece of information in these 15 minutes that you can take away, implement in your business, and see a real difference by next week in a positive light to help you move your business forward. And if you are doing these pieces of homeworks, do send me a DM on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Come and find me on socials. Send us an email. The links are always in the show notes to contact me. I'd love to see your successes, your little wins, your little pieces of action that are helping you move your business forward. This week's challenge is I want you to find one opportunity to find £100. I'm not asking you to find the whole 1,000. £100. Something that you can do this week, whether that's chasing that invoice that's overdue, cancelling the subscription or moving the plan, increasing a price with a client, improving a process, following up on that lead that you've forgotten about and it's been months. Just one little thing, because if you can find £100 this week in your business and £100 next week and then £100 the week after that, something amazing starts to happen because your business is improving. And it's not because you've worked harder, it's because you paid attention. The businesses that grow sustainably aren't always the businesses working the hardest. It's often the businesses making the best decisions. And I think finding those little £100 regularly is going to be a really great way for you to start doing that. Better decisions, as we know, always start with better visibility. So take the challenge. Find your £1,000 or your £100 this week. You might be surprised by how much of it is already sitting in your business, just waiting to be discovered. If this episode has been helpful, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you and find out what you want the 3Bs podcast to talk about next. Make sure you're following or you're subscribed on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode of the 3Bs podcast. And if you found it useful, please do leave a review. It takes a couple of seconds to press that 5-star in your podcast app, in your podcast platform. It really helps more business owners find this and start running their businesses properly. And if you'd like support finding opportunities, improving your systems, or getting clearer visibility over your numbers, that's exactly what we do at ABCS UK. The link is in the show notes to book 15 minutes into my diary to see how we can help you. And as you know, if you're not a right fit, we'll let you know too, and I can signpost you to support that will be a better fit for you and your business. Because your business deserves better. And I'll see you next week for the next episode. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. If this has helped you think differently about your business, then it's done its job. Make sure you're following or subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. And if you found it useful, please do leave a review. It helps more business owners find this and start running their businesses properly. If you want more insights behind the scenes and the reality of what it actually takes to build a better business, come and connect with me on social media. And if you're ready to stop guessing and start running your business with clarity, structure, and confidence, your next step is just a click away. because your business deserves better. I'll see you in the next episode.